Either a function that you don't understand, that is, say, you have no idea what's going on, or one that you do, but you don't know how this function is performed. You cannot understand the actual operation, the principles of operation of the object that you're looking at. So that is called, metaphorically, a black box. In this case, you're presented physically with a black box, and you're presented with the enigma of a system which clearly has become the governmental system of the world, and it has done so without oversight by the citizens of the same world. So that even as here in Europe we experience the transformation from national governments to a European government, what we didn't understand, and already there much of government has been black boxed in that sense, because the locus of government shifted to institutions of which there is no historical experience and therefore no popular familiarity. Even as that transposition was happening, a larger transposition was happening where the very principles and locus of governance shifted from a bureaucracy with democratically elected representatives to a kind of mix between oligarchy and technocracy, where the only election that takes place is on those rare occasions where you actually choose where you're going to put your money, which of course are rarer and rarer because first of all, as it goes, you tend to have less and less money, and second of all, more and more of those choices are decided by your place of employment or whatever, so your retirement, your health care money and so on end up circulating at that nearly speed of light that animates the financial markets. So what I think is fundamental and the beginning point of this exhibition is that it is a confrontation with the enigma of the black box of the financial markets and of financial government, and therefore an invitation to begin opening up that black box. And I think the point of getting together tonight is really for me to give an introduction to this problematic, and afterwards I think we can have quite a discussion about it. Another thing that you may have noticed while walking through the exhibition or on a previous visit is that while the smaller screens are actually matte, that is to say they actually are a kind of blackness that really contains nothing at all, no differentiation, nothing you could see, by I think an accident, perhaps not willed on the part of the artist, but nonetheless very interesting. On the larger screens, what you see is yourself. You see your own reflection. So each time you pause in front of an array of screens, you see yourself, and you have an experience which the phenomenologists call apperception, self-perception. You have an experience of self-perception. And that's a way, interestingly enough, that's a way in to the most advanced theories of what the financial markets are for those who engage with them. In other words, the experience of the trader's engagement with markets is first of all an experience of self-perception. What does that mean? Apparently, a trader, when they go to do something in the financial markets, of course they're confronted by these screens, by moving numbers which give an indication of something called the market, which comes to cohere in an opportunity to place money in or to take money out to get a profit. And so the market appears actually on the screens as a world. It appears as a world of possibility and also of fear, of anxiety. And yet, the one who engages with that world actually makes him or herself, usually himself, a part of the world. So that to perceive the world of the financial markets as such becomes, when you're involved with it, to perceive yourself as subsumed by this dynamic, which I think the most interesting theorist of the contemporary financial markets, Karen Norsetina, calls a global life form. That's something impressive, and I think it's worth being impressed by it. I think we can see that now, that this is a situation that has, whose giganticism is a major factor in political life, and whose uncontrollable character, while generally denied in the press by politicians and such, is in fact real. And yet that uncontrollable character is also generated by individual human beings who have a direct experience of it, and for whom this is not only their life, but it is actually something like a life form. Now, another interesting thing that could add to our perception of this entity called the financial markets is that here it's being presented using a particular kind of language. That language is clearly related to minimal and conceptual art. You can think of the minimalist paintings of someone called Alan McCulloch. You can think of, more generally, the kind of processes of abstraction, decontextualization, recombination, and speculative inquiry, which mark the moment of minimal and of conceptual art in the 1960s. And I think there's something that would really repay a lot of analysis concerning the parallelism in time between the point in time at which the contemporary financial system began to emerge, and that can be fairly precisely dated to 1971, the end of the Bretton Woods Treaty, and a point in time when artistic practice began to move from a sort of material process of form giving to an analytic process that consists in rendering a perspective on the world mobile, rendering it analytic, allowing, situating rather the dimension of art in the capacity to focus on singular aspects of the world and then to recombine those singular aspects so that in the end the artistic experience is an experimental experience of perception. I think that nowadays you can use the exact same terms to describe the complex operations whereby finance takes and abstracts specific values from objects and processes in the world. So this is what happens, for instance, when you take a you got to understand that people no longer just invest in an industry. They might invest in an instrument which is based on the volatility of the stock of that industry. That's an operation of tremendous abstraction, and it can be approached through the language of art probably as well as through any other language. And there must be a reason for that. And when you look in the theory of art, you don't find the explanation of that. You don't. In other words, there's a possibility within the language of art that's being used here